I would be amiss if I didn't say God first. Without him at the forefront of it, wouldn't have made it near this far. My boys were raised in this business. Xander is on the talent roster now with AWL. He was just up at Lodi's Team Fearless Academy getting some reps in with Ron Killens. And
who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Flair's definitely on there as far as a consistent money draw.
Right now, the current indie wrestling scene, who's in your main event?
Don't know the circulation on this podcast and may ruffle some feathers when I say this. I can guarantee you this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome today. It is our first rendition of this Ringside Radio little talk show podcast we're going to do here for AWL. We had to go big for the first guest today, so we wanted to bring in a man who has recently defeated Deon Johnson as well as Sean Cruz in his last two matches in AWL. This man has been in the business for 22 years. That's a long time, very seasoned in this business. This man is Mr. Ken Magnum. Ken, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Gavin. Hope you guys are. Congratulations on the new show. Hope everything obviously goes well. I know with AWL's backing and the organization and the goals that are in place there, I think you guys are going to do really, really well.
Man, I appreciate that. So, you've been in this business 22 years. That's pretty long time to be in. That's longer, honestly, than I've been alive. And I know that sucks to hear out loud, especially for me, because that makes me feel like I'm too young for this business. But
makes me feel like I'm too old to be in the business.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing in 22 years or where I'll be at, but I hope I'm doing as good as you are in this business. But what's the secret to that? Like, how do you keep in such good shape to be doing this for so long, managing wrestling and family at the same time? Like, what's the secret?
Well, I mean, I would be amiss if I didn't say God first. Okay, so I'm extremely, extremely blessed. Just no other way to put that. Without him at the forefront of it, wouldn't have made it near this far. So I'm just thankful for what God's done in my life and who God is in my life. And then the support of my family. Both my boys were raised in this business. I met my wife at a wrestling show. Ironically enough, 22 years ago. I met her in September of 2004 after I debuted in March of 2004. So, and she's been with me every step of the way, all the miles that we, have traveled. She's been with me the majority of that time. And so her support. And then as far as the working out stuff goes, it always went hand in hand. You can't have one, or you shouldn't be able to have one without the other, right? I mean, to me, wrestling is like any other form of, athletics, performance art, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. It requires a certain amount of physical conditioning. And also, as far as character development goes, it's a huge part of what we do. So to me, you should not have one without the other.
I feel that, man. I completely agree with you. So would you be as much to say that, honestly, you wouldn't be where you are in life without pro wrestling?
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, again, it gave me somewhere to belong, something to belong to. It seems cliche at this point because we've been hearing about the boyhood dream, since 1995, 96 with Shawn Michaels, and ever since then, every time you hear a story on a podcast, it's something, it's a dream of mine, childhood dream, if you will, and I follow suit. I'm right there with them. I mean, I remember watching my first match in 1988. Ron Simmons and Butch Reed as Doom against Sting and Lex Luger. It was the first time I'd ever laid eyes on professional wrestling. And then just a couple of years later there, when the Mark Calloway debuted the Undertaker character, man, I was hooked, and I've been a fan ever since.
Man, that's great to hear, man.
Well, I'd say that's awesome. And I know we talked a lot about just family and how important that is in professional wrestling. Is it almost just like a brotherhood, just getting together with your family and being able to say that you can do this together? Because that's not something a lot of people can say.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely. Again, my boys were raised in this business. Xander, which you both are familiar with, is on the talent roster now with AWL. He's getting his name out there. He was just up at Lodi's Team Fearless Academy last night, getting some reps in with Ron Killens and Billy Brash. He's just seeking to learn and grow as much as he can. Um, so we bounce ideas off of each other, obviously on in certain venues and for certain companies. My wife accompanies me to the ring and is my on-screen manager as well. And then my youngest son is where opportunities are what opportunities are given to him as far as in non-licensed states like North Carolina. He is learning and training to be a referee. So yeah, it is a family affair. So we're all involved. We're all entrenched. We all enjoy it. We all have fun together. So it's easy when you can have fun and enjoy the same things.
I mean, that's amazing to hear. I mean, that's just completely awesome. A lot of people, like I said, don't really get that kind of support. So that's really awesome to hear. I'm going to move slightly away from that. I want to get into a little bit about you. If you could get into the ring with any wrestler, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
Again, I would be to be perfectly honest, it would have to be Undertaker. I mean, it would just have to be. It would be. I can't think of anybody else or any other situation that I would want to be in than standing in an arena in front of, I don't care how many people, but let's just throw out a number. Let's throw out 15,000 people and standing in the middle of that ring and witness that entrance. Not from a crowd perspective, which I've been blessed and fortunate enough to do, but from the in-ring capacity, and then be able to go one-on-one with somebody like that, even though the size differential would be stupid in this situation. Right, but yeah, definitely, absolutely, 100% the Undertaker.
Man, I mean that's a solid pick. I don't know if that size maybe height difference, but I mean I don't know. You guys are both like kind of hand to hand. Y'all right there with each other. I'll give you
Well, I
guys.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I don't. Those attaboys, I need all I can get. So,
I feel you. So growing up in that area, obviously Undertaker is the favorite. But if you had to, give 4 or 5 more spots, who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
okay, Mount Rushmore wrestling. Love this question. Hear it, used so often. I was actually in a private conversation with some friends of mine on IM the other day discussing TNA's Mount Rushmore and how hard that fourth spot would be to pick, and it varied between the three or four of us involved in that conversation, which I thought was pretty curious. So, I mean, obviously, you can go back years and years and years. But at the end of the day, pro wrestling is a business. It is about money and who makes and who draws money. Um, and so, nothing against the wrestling traditionalists and way back. And I'm talking, the Bachwinkles and Killer Kowalskis and coming through the San Martinos. They drew money for their era, but we're talking real money. And so, as much as it pains me to say, Hogan's got to be on there. Flair's definitely on there as far as a consistent money draw for all that time. Then you're putting Steve Austin on there, and then again, as much as I hate to leave him off, I hate to leave Undertaker off, but John Cena is going to be my next one, and it might be John Cena would be 4A and Brock would be 4B, because again, as much as it pains me to say Brock, in this regard, it's all about the long draw of money, and they put some money on the table, and be honest, it hurts my stomach to even think about that. I just left Roman Reigns off of there too. Not to get off script, but it's very, very hard to change my mind.
Right.
Like Roman Reigns is the only modern era star in the last I've been a fan since I was 10, so I'm 45, so 35 years of being a fan. Roman Reigns is the only guy that I can think of that has ever truly changed my mind. Like, I was so sick of him when they were first shoving the big dog down our throats week in and week out. And then the character work that he was able to do and development of the whole bloodline storyline and going heel and what he did through the COVID era, which was unheard of. Like, I mean, man, has he changed my mind. I mean, he is, they call it God mode for a reason. And I mean, I'm not scared to, I'll put that over in any conversation. Like, he's drawing some major money.
But now look, I want to step away for a second because I know you mentioned you was talking about the Mount Rushmore of TNA. My partner right here, Elijah, he is an avid TNA watcher. So I wanna kind of compare your guys's your TNA Mount Rushmore. So I'll get yours first, and then we'll compare it to what Elijah's got. What you got?
Well, I mean, again, I wasn't a huge fan of TNA, even through, its inception and everything, just being a WWE kid. But I also look at it from the perspective of homegrowns. That was one of the things that we talked about the other day. That one of the guys had, Kurt Angle and Sting on that list. I'm like, no, they were names before they got there. Jeff Jarrett wouldn't be on my TNA Mount Rushmore, even though he technically started it and rebranded it and took it national and all that. So definitely AJ Styles, definitely Samoa Joe. And then, in my opinion, just because I was a huge fan of him during that era, I'm going to say Christopher Daniels. And then that fourth spot, again, like, I mean, where do you go? I mean, would it be Beer Money as a tag team? Would it be Robert Roode as a singles? Would it be Chris Sabin? Honestly, that X division, it's like, I really like what Jeff Jarrett said on a podcast the other day. I can't remember if it was a podcast or Dark Side of the Ring, but I mean, basically said the X division then is main eventing shows now. And there's a lot of truth in that.
Well, honestly, I think he hit the nail pretty hard. A lot of the same picks, AJ Styles, you got to have him. Christopher Daniels, you got to have him. Where I would slightly change up is I might put Chris Sabin in there. And, man, I think you know what? I think it does have to be Samoa Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Just that feud with Kurt Angle was some of the best stuff I've watched on TNA around that time.
I didn't really watch too much TNA just growing up or anything. I kind of have caught the highlights of that era of TNA, as I've become more of a fan of it the last couple of years. So I never really got to experience that, but I'd combine both y'all's lists because I couldn't honestly think of any other person who could go on that list. I know Suicide's probably not a Mount Rushmore character, but he's probably one of the only TNA specific characters that I could honestly think of that come out of that business. But we're gonna shift gears.
I mean,
let's see what you got.
Through that era, like as far as TNA wrestlers, if you would have asked me who my favorite was, it was Bobby Roode, hands down. Just because I thought he was a total package. I mean, character, the look, the work. I mean, top to bottom, he was a textbook perfect pro wrestler. Almost Randy Orton-esque.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, Randy Orton, great comparison right there. So we're going, I guess, switch up a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about the independent wrestling scene we got right now. So I wouldn't wish this curse upon anybody, but if you were a promoter, a booker of a pro wrestling show right now, the current indie wrestling scene, who's in your main event?
Excellent question. Don't know the circulation on this podcast and may ruffle some feathers when I say this. I can guarantee you this. It's not going to be somebody 5'5" tall and 160 pounds, and that's being generous. Okay. Now, are we out of the era of monsters? Yes. I mean, guys are maintaining and managing their bodies a lot better nowadays. But I can tell you, as far as just, looking at the products and stuff, there has to be and there should be a level of believability in that and the presentation that you're given. And if you're going to put a quote unquote heavyweight championship on somebody, then they need to at least look like a heavyweight. So that being said, too, I'll be honest, I don't keep my finger on the pulse of the indie scene, just because I'm not real big into comparisons or anything. I think there's plenty of meat on the bone for all of us, because wrestling is extremely unique in that I've heard it used a lot here lately. Both in church and wrestling business, is everybody likes a different flavor ice cream, right? So a lot of fans really get into that, what I'll call the Will Ospreay or Mike Quackenbush style of performance. And then you have your wrestling traditionalists that think the golden era of the 70s and 80s is still, that formula still works, and it does. It really, really does. To put a name on, or to put names in a main event now, again, it's so hard because everybody likes so many different things. But I do think that exclusivity is missing in modern independent wrestling. And what I mean by that is so many guys are spreading themselves so incredibly thin. So, and I'm going to use AWL as an example here, because of the production value, the pride that goes into that. H2L Wrestling, same thing. I'm going to use them. A lot of pride, a lot of time, a lot of effort goes into both, booking those cards, the presentation value, the posters, what's put out there. And with that being said, there's so many different flavors. You really have a hard time with, okay, what's going to draw fans, what's going to put butts in the seats.
Absolutely, and I guess kind of to continue on with that same talk, how did you find your flavor? How did you get started in the business? And who gave you that chance? Who gave you that launching pad to just make your way up?
Okay, so Jay Eagle, I had the opportunity to meet with Jerry, or Jay Eagle, at American Pro Wrestling, which is still based off of Whitney Road in Spartanburg at that time, in late 2003. And he had Viper running his training portion at the time, or his real name's Gary Benfield. Still maintain a friendship with Gary to this day, all these years later. Thank Gary for the opportunity, for getting us in the ring and working us out and teaching us, the very basics of professional wrestling. And then I'm going to give the APW locker room at that time, the Boomer Paynes, the Sonny Landales, Shane Austin, or Billy Stowe, Mickey Richards, those guys like that really took me and my partner at the time, who I broke in with, Adam Jackson. Give a shout out to Action Jackson there. Took us under their wing and really showed us, the right way to do business, and taught us so much in those first couple of years. Yeah.
I got you. So 22 years is a long time, and I know starting out down there at APW, that's where a lot of people got their start at. So I know you've probably experienced some stuff. Do you have any kind of stories you could tell us about some experiences you got that would be able to make this show?
Well, I will say this, like, there are so many great organizations in the Carolinas right now. There are a few, which I'm going to keep those opinions to myself. So maybe there'll be an episode 2 with me on there, so we can get a little more in depth, because there are a few promotions that are separating themselves right now, in my opinion, and becoming that upper echelon across the Carolinas landscape, and really the Southeast in particular. But as I was coming up through, I'll be honest, CWA, or Champions with Attitudes, promoted by Roger Gleaton, was the upper echelon of Carolina's wrestling. They had a partnership with TNA during the era that we just discussed a few moments ago. And so, young man at the time coming up in the business, that was my first goal. If I can get on CWA, I can do something there. And honestly, it took me until the summer of 2008. So it took me almost 5 years to make it onto that card. Had to do a quote unquote dark match on one of their Time Warner cable TV tapings, and in order to get that spot. And then I was the curtain jerk heel for 18 straight months. I like telling this story because, guys are like, oh, I want to be in the main event. I want to be a champion. I need to hold a belt. I need to, go to work with my chest poked out on Monday morning and tell everybody I'm a pro wrestler. Man, when I achieved my first true goal in professional wrestling was making it to CWA. When I got to CWA, I was the curtain jerk heel for 18 straight months. Now, what does that mean? I go out and set the tone, get the crowd involved, and really try to have the best match that I could have. And when I went out there for 18 straight months, I lost every match for 18 straight months. My first year there, I won most hated. My second year there, I won most hated. So needless to say, fan votes, obviously the promotion and sponsors with that. Sorry about that phone ringing there, guys. I was proud of that. But what happened in month 19 is something I was even more proud of. And I got a heavyweight championship shot for that show, which that title was held by Lodi at the time. And I went into that match booked to lose. And little did I know they were going to have Lodi do the favor for me. And as I hit my finish on Lodi, I was fully expecting him to kick out. And he held me in tight and said, "Congratulations, kid, you earned it." And so for me, that was like, it's just one of those moments that you can dream of and think's never going to happen to you, but it happened for me. And it's always something that I've been super proud of. And then those opportunities that CWA gave me after that, Roger Gleaton, can't thank him enough. I did the best 2 out of 3 over a 3-year period with Shelton Benjamin. From 09 to 2011. That was, really big for me. Been privileged to be in the ring with a lot of names over the years, throughout the last 22 years, and just excited and thankful to have that privilege, and excited to see what the future holds over the next. I do have I'm 45, like I mentioned earlier, so I've kind of got a 3-year plan. Exit strategy, if you will, but we'll see how that goes.
And awesome. We're talking about a lot of great wrestlers, Lodi, Shelton Benjamin, yourself. What do you think is the difference between a good wrestler and a great wrestler?
Good wrestler and a great wrestler. Well, I'm gonna actually use something that Shelton, when he was giving me feedback, is cardio. Cardio, because when you get blown up, you're not only are you giving the appearance of sluggish, but then again, you want it to look like an athletic competition, right? So you see NBA players that get paid millions of dollars to run up and down the floor and shoot a basketball, and albeit very competitive basketball, you see them with their hands on their hips, hands on their knees, kind of catching their breath, right? So you want that athletic competition performance look to it. But the cardio in wrestling is so much different. I will say, I can say publicly, that's always been the weakest part of my game. I've never been, into blow up drills or anything like that. It's just, I always put more emphasis on the interaction with the crowd than, I say the cardio in the ring. And you're going to get different viewpoints on that too, right? So a lot of guys like, no, you let the performance dictate the audience. Well, the audience is paying their money, and they understand professional wrestling is an interactive experience. Yes, my opponent and I are responsible for what we do in the ring, but if the paying customer is not invested and there's no interaction there, then what are we even doing there? I can put two monkeys in the ring and have them roll around and cut flips off the top rope, and it means nothing if the crowd's not invested and there's no interaction there, right? Um, so that to me is the difference between good and great is, can you balance all those things? Can you put out the athletic, or put out the performance that suspends disbelief? It's like, oh wow, did he really just strike him? Did he, what just happened there? And then have that crowd interaction with you, have them react to your music, have them react to what you're doing in the ring, and then being able to, here's the kicker for me, and this is where a lot of guys, in my opinion, miss it, is being able to separate your character in the ring or on a show versus the man or woman that walks out of that ring. Right. So to me, I take just as much pride in my performance inside the ring as I do the man that walks out of that curtain after the show, meeting fans, conversating and developing rapport with my coworkers and with my, the entourage, if you will, and developing relationships, lasting relationships. And that's very hard in professional wrestling, but I've always taken pride in that.
And then, we'll kind of stay around the same topic here, but kind of going along with that, what is the hardest truth that you've had personally in your journey in professional wrestling that you've had to learn?
The hardest truth. I'm gonna have to say the fact that no matter how much I try or how much I have tried over the years, there's always going to be somebody in professional wrestling, or really in anything, that dislike you for one reason or another when you have done nothing to deserve it, or absolutely nothing, no way of understanding it. That's been the hardest truth to understand is, you go into a show, and here's another one of my personal and professional outlooks that I feel like makes me different than a lot of wrestlers, especially out there today. We're independent contractors, right? Every wrestler, we're our own, both the men and the women, we're our own brand. We go out there and present ourselves under the banner of a show. Now, whether that be, again, CCW, AWL, H2L, AML, wherever we are booked, we are putting our brand out there. But the thing about that is, and I apologize, I just really lost my train of thought. I really, the thing that makes me different is the fact that I look at it. What I say is, I'm a show first guy. And what I mean by that, I want the show to be successful. Now, can I get myself over as part of being a part of a great show? Absolutely. I want that paying audience, I want those interactive fans to leave that show, and they might not remember everything about my match. Let's be a realist. They're probably not, because they're going to see anywhere between, hopefully, if it's a good show, anywhere between 5 and 8 matches, right? Anything over 8 matches is absurd. But anything between 5 and 8. But I can guarantee you this: like, if you were to poll 100 fans out of a show, and ask them to give you 3 guys or 5 guys or whatever, or ladies, let's include the ladies there, off of any given card, my goal is to be on that short list. That's like, I want them walking away from that show going, Ken Magnum, that guy's the real deal. It's a shame that he either wasn't in his younger days or doesn't have an opportunity to be on TV now. Like, those are the kinds of comments, and those are the kind of feedback that I want. So, but at the same time, I want the show to be successful. That's why, when promoters ask me for promos, I make sure they have their promos in the time frame that they need them, without question, without fail. And no, I'm not going to send that sitting in the front seat of my car either. I know that's a new thing that everybody likes to do because I feel like it's convenient and easy. But if it's convenient and easy, it's also lazy. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. That might catch me some heat off this podcast, but it is what it is. It's lazy. Put some thought and presentation into your character. Put some thought and presentation into your promos. I'm proud of the promo work that I do. I'm proud of the promo work and presentation that, my son has learned through his years in the theater department coming through school, and, his character development and the promos that he and I produce and put out for him. I'm extremely proud of those because it's clear to me, even though I am biased, obviously, because I'm a part of them, we put thought and effort into it and time. And don't call yourself a professional if you're not willing to do that.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll go ahead and put over you and Xander real quick. You guys do have some of the best promos that I've seen, and not to ruffle your feathers. I know this probably makes you pretty proud, but Xander, between the two of you, he's killing it. He I seen a promo he did. I don't know if it's for our show or a show that he was coming up on. I don't remember, but I was watching, I was like, wow, this is good stuff. Like this kid's killing it. So props to both of you guys for that one.
The work that he done coming through high school and obviously, now going on into college in theater. It's like I told him, I was like, that is just as important as the time that he spent, on the wrestling team, on the wrestling mat, learning holds and obviously the cardio and the toughness that all those athletes have. The theatrical side of what we do. As I told him, I said, son, you're coming out of high school with the size and the balance and the knowledge to really put all this together. And so, take it as far as you want to take it. So trying to encourage him every day that I can.
I got you. Yeah. So we're just about at the time where we'll go ahead and close this out. So before we get out of here, I got one last question for you, and it's kind of going to round everything together that we talked about. Looking back on a younger version of yourself when you were just starting out, what advice would you give yourself as you now, or what would you change about the way you did things?
I'll be honest. I'm gonna insert a little story here. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything, and here's why I say that. If I were to tweak something, it would be the simple fact that I would have traveled more, just so I could have had what I deem in wrestling as a better known name. I feel like in the circles where I am known, I'm respected. My name does carry respect in the business, and I'm proud of that. But I would have traveled more. I would have sought opportunities abroad. Hit some more states and had some more opportunities that I chose to not at the time. Just because I was a husband, I was a father, and that's my first ministry. That's my first job. And I'm held accountable before God for those. I'm not held accountable before God for what kind of wrestler I was. But I'm held accountable before God because what kind of husband and father I am. So I'll tell a short story as we close up here. So I had an opportunity to wrestle Ethan Carter III at a show back earlier this year. And he and I were spending some time together, obviously, before the show, because he performed a seminar with some of the talent that day, and he had me assist him in that. And he and I had a great conversation, and he was, found out, obviously, he said that it was a first for him that he was having to fight off basically a whole family because he was wrestling me. My wife, of course, was managing me outside the ring and played a part in the match. Xander, of course, ran in on the match, and Caden was the referee. So he had to literally fight off the entire family. So I'm hoping I make his autobiography. There's a plug. But with that being said, he's like, man, what you have right now. He's like, I know so many people, and he said this of himself. He said, so many people, myself included, have given up everything that you have to chase this. very, very few are able to maintain a home life and achieve superstardom. And Ricky Steamboat, Arn Anderson, and those are guys, obviously from superstars from the 80s and first ballot Hall of Famers on any genre of pro wrestling. And they were able to do it. So those were great role models and stuff. Now, I never achieved the superstardom. I never got to ink my name on that contract, but I try to go through life with the saying, don't second guess God. I am exactly right now where I'm supposed to be because of his love and mercy. And I can't second guess him or what happens. So, it is what it is. So, I'm just excited and proud of what I have been able to accomplish, and thank God I've been able to maintain my integrity and respect through all of it. And I appreciate the opportunity you guys let me have today and let me be on your new show.
There we go. Well, we thank you for coming on. Most definitely, we appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come do this. Definitely lots of respect to you for what you've done in this business and what you will continue to do and what you fight for and everything. So hopefully we can get you back on again for an episode 2. We can talk about a little bit more, get a little bit more into detail. But definitely we appreciate the interview. It was a great interview. And we get excited to see who's coming out next. You can catch Ken actually coming up AWL a few more times this year, and then next Wednesday on the AWL YouTube channel. His match against Sean Cruz will be live on there, so make sure you check that out. Elijah, do you have anything before we close out?
Honestly, I think you wrapped it up pretty well, but thank you so much again for coming out, just being here with us today and just spreading your knowledge to the both of us and just letting us.
No, again, privilege was all mine. Thank you guys again so much for the opportunity, and look forward not only to see how your show grows here that you're starting, but also what AWL's continuing to do. Man, it's great. Just excited to be a part of it. Thank you guys very much.